Good morning, everyone. Well, it looks calm out there right now, but it just stopped raining. The leaves are still dripping water right now. You walk underneath it, you think it's still raining. The fish are up in the shallows again. I'm going to stick a video at the end. You can see all you need is just a long net for your swimming pool type, and you can sit there and drag in fish. Anyhow, we're going to finish up. This is the last chapter of James, and then we're done with him. Yeah, I know you're thrilled that we're done, but we're moving on. Okay? We're still waiting on the rapture. I don't know a date. You don't know a date. Nobody knows a date. But it's out there. We can maybe predict the end ones, but we can't predict the first one. Because it's tied to everything starting. Everything's still continuing on in the Middle East. They're still bombing Gaza and Lebanon. They sent a very strong message to Iran. And now Syria is going after some. Syria's been in a civil war forever. It's going after some people there that it doesn't like, so it never ends. Okay, so turn with me to James 5:1. Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. See, the first part of the so-called tribulation, the first part of the 70th week, we have the seals and the trumpets. You got the 4 horsemen. We got a quarter of the people die, probably from some disease. It's all man-made. God doesn't get involved until the second half, and he gets involved with the bowls of wrath. We're not subject to wrath. We're also the restraining force until we're out of here, and then all hell's going to break loose. Literally. Okay. 5:2. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. Don't store up your treasures here on earth where they can be moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You have heaped up treasures in the last days. The middle class is disappearing. We're getting rich and we're getting poor. And the rich want to stay where they are, so they're going to eliminate a lot of the poor. That's why we're going to have a quarter of the population of the world die off. We're also going to lose a good chunk of Christians. Most are going to go. There's going to be a few that are Christians in name only, and they won't get to go. But they know what they did wrong, hopefully by that point. Indeed, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out, and the cries of the reapers have reached out the ears of the Lord of Sabbath. God sees everything. But the rich don't believe in God, a lot of them. So they can do whatever they think they want to do, and there's going to be no punishment on earth. But it doesn't matter. At best, you're going to get 100 years out of this, and that's it. And then you're going to die, and your fortune is going to go to your family, who are going to fight over it, squabble it, over it, and then squander it. So why bother? You have lived on the earth in pleasure and luxury. You have fattened your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned. You have murdered the just. He does not resist you. And 7, be patient and persevering. Therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until it receives the early and latter rain. There's a seasons changing. We're in changing seasons now. We're getting the last of the rain before things dry out. So welcome it. The storms of late are lots of rain, minimal, at least where I'm at, minimal damage. The winds aren't that high, minimal lightning strikes, and I don't know of that many tornadoes this year. It seems like they've calmed down, but just we get a day and a half to 2 days of rain, whereas a storm front would go through in 3 hours. So things are changing. In 5:8, you also be patient. Establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. That's what we're saying. That's what my channel says. The voice in the wilderness. Repent, for the coming of the Lord is at hand. Do not grumble against one another, brethren, lest you be condemned. As a Christian body, we need to be working together. We're all uniquely different. You're not going to get an exact match of people. But be patient and kind with everyone, and you will make the best of it. Behold, the judge is standing at the door. Up there. My brethren, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord as an example of suffering and patience. Indeed, we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end intended by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful. He took everything away from Job. He had every reason to curse God. At the very end, he kind of lost a little bit of that strength that he had. God said he would never push anybody that far again, and he restored back multitudes of everything that he had lost. So he gained out of it. Now, he lost family members, but he gained family members. We're all together in the end. But above all, my brethren, do not swear either by heaven or by earth or with any oath, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, lest you fall into judgment. It's like we just read in James earlier. You can't predict anything. You don't know what's happening. You can't say today I'm going to do this or tomorrow I'm going to do that. You have no idea. If the Lord wills, I'm going to do that. Same thing with your speech. You can't swear by anything that you have any control over. If anyone among you is suffering, let him pray. If anyone is cheerful, let him sing songs. We have a book of Psalms just for that. Many of our hymns are based on those Psalms. If anyone among you is sick, let him call for the elders of the church, and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord. Oil is a representation of the Spirit. And that the prayer of faith will save the sick, and the Lord will raise him up. And if he has committed sins, what's going on? My mouse again. He will be forgiven. Confess your trespasses to one another and pray for one another, that you may be healed. This is an important one. The effective, fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. You're not getting answer to your prayer? Look at yourself. See what is driving the prayer. If you're still in the midst of sin, don't expect your prayers to be answered fully or properly, or at all. Stop your sin. Then you can get your prayers answered. And you'll be better off overall. Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, and he prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain on the land for 3 years and 6 months. The two witnesses, one's going to call out for a famine, no rain. That's why we're thinking he might be Elijah. And he prayed again, and the heavens gave rain, and the earth produced its fruit. Jesus calmed storms. Whatever is going on earth is at the control of God. Brethren, if anyone among you wanders from the truth, and someone turns him back, let him know that he who turns a sinner from the error of his ways will save a soul from death and cover a multitude of sins. We all have our list of sins. Jesus forgives them. But we can get them even washed cleaner than having them thrown away. Okay, that's all that we have of James. He wrote this as a practical guide because he saw a lot of his fellow Jewish brethren. Now, this is written to the Jews. James is Jewish, of course. To guide them because they didn't understand. A lot of times people see Jesus as a carte blanche. I can go sin and say 3 Hail Marys or whatever it is, and I'll be fine with it. And I can just keep sinning as long as I'm saying the Hail Marys or whatever else, whatever your protocol is. No, that is not the purpose of being forgiven. The purpose of being forgiven is so we can get back up and get back on the road again, ride the horse, ride the bike, to get back on track, not to get back to sinning. Okay, I'm hearing a little bit of rain. I've got my window open so I don't want to get things wet in here. After 2 days of rain, we're dry. It feels damp, but that's just the humidity. So, I like this new tent. So, put this to practice. Read daily, and then apply it. If you're just going to read just for head knowledge, it's not doing you any good. You got to apply it to do good. Now, putting the knowledge in your head keeps the devil out. Now, he can't indwell us, but he can influence you with thoughts. He can influence you with other people saying, just like Job's friends, oh, this is all because you're a sinner, Job. This is because you're a bad person. No, it wasn't. It was to test him. The Lord was testing him. And he did pretty good. Better than most, I think. All right. Again, we don't know when we're getting out of here, but it's not going to be pleasant. So prep, have food, make sure you know a plan. Have your bug-out bag ready in case you need it. Don't build a bomb shelter. You don't need that. Keep your cars full of gas. Fill up whenever the gas goes down. You know, it's like the stock market. Buy low, sell high. Well, buy low and then use the gas when it goes up. But keep it full. That way you've got the range of your vehicle with a full tank. If something happens and you've got to leave town real quick, and you've got a quarter tank or you're on empty, there's going to be a 4-hour line at the gas station if they're open. Keep the tanks full. Don't go and buy a whole surplus full of gas and store it in your house. That's dangerous. You know, everybody should have 1 can of gas in your house, and that would be it. That's for your lawnmowers, etc. But you could use it for your car if you needed to. But keep your car full. The price of gas just all went up again. And like I said, when they all go up together to a higher price, that's coming from on high. Because normally there's competition. You see 2 gas stations, one across the street from the other. One's a little higher than the other. One probably gets the bulk of the traffic, so it can charge a little more. The most expensive station I know is one out in the middle between 2 major towns. And if you get out there and you realize you're out of gas, you're in trouble. So you pay 20 cents a gallon more. Don't do that. Use your head. Keep it full. Find the cheap gas. You can get an app for your phone. I've got one called Cheap Gas. There's others out there. Just look at them. And it will tell you where the cheapest gas is. Keep in mind that if you go to the El Cheapo gas, a non-name brand one, they buy seconds. So be careful. You can damage your car by getting secondhand gas. This is some prepping tips I'm giving you here. If you own a gas station and it gets down so low, the sediment gets down low too with it, and then you start pumping out the sediment. So you drain the tank, clean it out, and then you sell that used gas to an El Cheapo gas station, and then they resell it. They're supposed to filter it, but sometimes they don't. So be careful. Your car has a fuel filter. You can plug that up, and then your car won't get fuel to the engine, and you have to pay to have that changed. So buy reputable gas from stations that you can trust. Another time not to buy gas is if there's a truck in the gas station filling up the tanks, because he's stirring up the sediment. Give that a few hours to settle back down before you buy, or go someplace else. See, all these things you got to think about. Be ready. But you don't have to be ready for the rapture. Be ready for the times as they get tougher. The rapture is like that, and that's in God's hands. You need to be ready to survive what's coming. Many banks are starting to take out their teller machines. They're doing away with cash. That's it. Going digital. Once we're fully digital and the Antichrist comes on the scene, he can do his Mark of the Beast request. But it's going to have to be tough times. He can't just come in and save us from nothing. To bring peace, he's got to have major problems going on. Now, his focus is against the Jews first, the Christians second. So, as long as there's fighting in the Middle East, there's fighting that he can deal with. But the world is going to accept him. So there's got to be enough danger in the world. China and Taiwan, Russia and Ukraine and the U.S. and whatever. If he's going to bring peace, it's going to be a big world event. The whole world's going to believe he's the Christ, because the Christians will be gone. We're the restraining force. Think about it. You cannot remove God from the world. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere. So what's restraining him? The Spirit within us. When we are raptured out, there's no spirit to fight the Antichrist. We'd recognize him. Now, we don't recognize him now because he's just a normal man. He's one of the seven kings. The seventh king, if you want to give him a number. He will die and become the eighth king. I don't know if we're going to see that or not. Before he takes the forefront, we have to get out of here. Because we can sit down and pray and say, bind the Antichrist, God, don't let him do anything. And he can't. Because we're fighting the devil. So we have to get out of here, so we won't do that. We're already praying for revival, which is good, but return to normal, or return to the way we were. You can't ever return. As we get further and further in the tribulation, you can't go back. Once you've killed off a quarter of the people, you can't go back. It's going to keep progressing worse and worse. It's God's warning to the people. Now, we don't need to be warned. We already know, and we're spreading the warning. So we don't have to worry about it. All right. Be ready. Buy extra food, whatever you can afford. Buy food you're going to eat and cycle it. That's how you prep. If you like canned raviolis, then buy canned raviolis, the brand that you normally eat. Don't buy the cheap stuff if you don't eat the cheap stuff. And then cycle it through. Take the oldest and use it so that you're cycling it through. Don't store up a lot of food in your refrigerator, because if power goes out and that's your only prepping, you're going to have to cook a lot and eat a lot for the next few days, because it's not going to keep. You've got to keep food that is non-perishable. Now, rice and beans and bags can go bad, so you got to make sure that you protect them. There are plenty of videos on how to do this. Before YouTube goes down, or all the other media sources, watch all you need to know about prepping. I'm not going to give you guidance here on how to do that directly. One, for legal reasons, and two, because other people are doing it so much better. I have my rules that I follow. You need to come up with yours. Have your checklist. Have your bug out bag. Have your stores of food. Have your family plan, where you're going to meet. All these things are important because we're getting close. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless. All you need is a net. You have dinner for a month.